Hi everyone, it's Phil with Sarros Landscaping, and in today's video I'm going to show you just how hard it is to build a timber retaining wall when it's raining. So I'm out on this construction site where we're building a large timber retaining wall project. The goal of this project is to retain this very steep hillside that you see behind me. I'm going to start by showing you the lower terrace wall. The original thought and plan of this project is that it would be a single terrace. You can see the remainder of the hillside going down. You can't really tell the angle from here, but it is every bit of a 45-degree angle, which is an incredibly steep slope. So when you build one wall, you have on a slope, it's called a toe slope. You have to dig very, very deeply to bury anywhere from 2 feet to 3 feet, sometimes even more, of that wall and footing. So in our design, we thought it would be a lot better to go ahead and build a 2-terrace wall. Now I know the biggest question that I get asked most often is, Phil, why don't you build more block walls? We do, as a matter of fact, build a ton of block walls, but it just so happens that a large percentage of my videos are these timber walls because I love them, because they're super strong. They're gonna last for many, many years, ground contact rated for 25 years, and in my experience, for the most part, that is true, especially when you have great drainage behind the wall. So let me flip this around and get you a better look at what we are seeing here. So here's the lower wall. At its peak down there, we've got 4 feet. It narrows off as it gets to the right-hand side to about 3 feet, with about 2.5 feet of that exposed. So we're building this bottom wall to add support to the top wall. One of the big things that goes wrong in timber wall construction is how they are braced. Oftentimes you will see a brace come back behind a wall. Here's an example of a brace right here. So let me zoom in on that. Right here's our brace. Oftentimes you'll see this brace come just a few feet back, and then the installer, the contractor, will put a T on it, and that T may extend 2 feet or 3 feet. From there, maybe roughly over to here. So it's just a T that holds it in, with the concept being that as weight settles down on this T, it puts pressure on this dead man reinforcement, actually pulling the wall tighter to the surface. But we take this and way over engineer it. We took this timber 6 feet back, and it ties into another solid timber right there. That timber ties in every 8 feet. So if you look along the length of it, it almost looks like train tracks. You can see the ridges along there. There's our next dead man. Every 8 feet, there is a dead man going 6 feet back, tying into another timber right here. It's basically a wall behind a wall. This wall will never fall. In order for this wall here to fall forward in this direction, this whole back wall would have to fall forward. Now, when we go to build the second wall above this, which is going to be another 4-foot tall wall, relatively up here, kind of even, relatively even, slightly below the ground level. When we go to build this second wall, and actually it's higher than my hand, so it is pretty much level with the yard. That wall is also going to sit on these dead men, pulling this even tighter. So in order for this wall to fall, the back would have to fail and the top wall would have to fail. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to fail. Yes, we could do it with a block wall as well, but then being that we're building this project under such heavy rain circumstances, we have to be a little more careful, a lot more careful about what dirt gets used. We still have clean drainage, Phil, and I've left this open so you can see what this looks like. We have a minimum of 12 inches of clean drain rock back here. So this is behind the entire wall. Underneath this, we're gonna have a 4-inch perforated French drain pipe. So you see a lot of sections right now of pipe just sticking out. That's not our perforated pipe. That is pipe from the downspouts of the back of this house. That downspout piping, yard drainage piping, is gonna come out, down below the top wall, down below the bottom wall where it will be able to discharge into this natural creek area here at the bottom. But getting access to this job is incredibly difficult. We've had nothing but rain here. So today is our first day and a half that we've had with no substantial rain. But we built this wall in the middle of the rainstorm. You get started and sometimes you just got to work in the rain. So we were able to get an excavator back here to dig the initial footing, but we had to finish digging that footing out by hand. Right now, because of how unstable all of this ground is, we have very little room between the top of this hillside and the house to bring any equipment or machinery in. During the construction of this lower wall here, all this ground was doing was just sliding and sliding. So it was never really compacted. It wasn't that good hard earth. It was obviously filled by the builder many years ago when this home was built. We've got the Eduardo's coming back now with the mini skid steer, but you'll see that we've got, see that little blue 5-gallon bucket up there on the hill? We're filling 2 5-gallon buckets at a time to put the gravel in as our drainage, and also to use the gravel as the base for where the new wall will sit. And let me show you how that goes in right here. So he's putting in the gravel right now. See, here's our dead man right here. There's the next one, just 8 feet away. And in between, we're gonna fill with gravel to create a leveling pad, and our first new wall base will go right on top of this, and it will connect right on top of this dead man. So everything does end up staying secured and very well anchored in together. But I love building these timber walls. Again, the selection for the wall is also the fact that this is just a really natural rustic setting. The good side of the wall, the side that would be visibly good, is also facing this. So there's not, neighbors aren't looking at it. It's not a very highly visible wall, but in many respects, I get it that timber walls don't last a lifetime like a block wall does. I still think from an anchoring standpoint, when they're built correctly and anchored correctly and drained correctly, that after 30 years, you forget about it. I mean, we're replacing cross-tie walls in the Atlanta area that are, some are 60 years old. Granted, they're falling apart, but they've held the test of time under much poorer conditions. A couple other things we do differently in our timber walls than some other people do is we don't use spikes. Right here, check this out. That is a 10-inch timber lock screw. So we use these timber lock screws to hold them together. We'll have 3 screws per timber. Right here is another timber lock screw. I think they're much stronger than using spikes. They use a lot less manpower, although it's funny that I'm talking about manpower on a job where we're bringing in gravel by the bucket. But once this gets built up, we'll be able to get our machine. Right now we've got 2 machines on site. We've got our mini skid steer, our Vermeer. We also have our Kubota regular size skid steer. As soon as this wall gets 2 or 3 courses high, we're gonna be able to start bringing the machine in and bringing gravel in, and then pushing this dirt down and begin compacting layer by layer so we get great compaction behind all of it. But using the spikes, I am highly against. We did for years, but there are a ton of physical work to put in the spikes, but also when you put in a spike and you go to hit it, these timbers tend to twist. Like you hit a spike once or twice and it doesn't stay in this battered position. So just to give you an idea, one of the other things we don't do is we don't build these walls vertical. We have a batter just like you would on a block wall. So this is set back roughly about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch on each course. So you can look down the side and you can see that battering, that setback just a little bit. But when you use a spike, right where the spike makes contact with the timber below it, it has a tendency to want to twist or to shift. And if it twists just a little bit or messes it up, it can make the top of your wall look wavy, just look like a little bit uneven where these spikes twist. And the truth is, the guys get tired. I mean, it's tiring by the end of the day putting in, I mean, I don't know, we probably have 120 timbers in place right now, and times 3 spikes, I mean, that's 360 times you're using a sledgehammer, and if it takes 8 hits per sledgehammer, I don't know, do the math on that one. What would that be, like 500 and some hits? No, more than that. Times 3, no, like over 1,000 hits. I don't know. You guys are going to do the math. Comment below if you've done the math. 360 times 8 hits. But that's what we're doing out here. So the next phase 2 will be to put the second wall in. This is our 3rd day on the project. We didn't get a whole lot accomplished yesterday and the day before because it was just pouring rain out here. So we were able to get the foundation in, the drainage in, the sock pipe. Let me show you what the perforated sock pipe looks like and the difference. Remember, this pipe that you're seeing is solid 4-inch corrugated pipe to carry water directly from the downspouts or from any surface drain basins that may be up there. This, on the other hand, is sock pipe. This is sock pipe because it has a sock on it, a silt sleeve. It's designed to not get sediment inside the pipe because this pipe is forever going to sit at the foundation of the wall surrounded by gravel. This is perforated pipe. So the combination of perforated pipe with a silt sleeve, we call it perforated sock pipe or just sock pipe. These little perforations in here, can I show you that? These little perforations in here don't let out much water, but they will take a lot of water in when water builds up. And one thing that causes retaining wall failures more than anything else is a buildup of water pressure. Water keeps going behind the wall and has no relief or no exit. I gave you the example earlier about how many cross-tie retaining walls we replace. There's a substantial amount of cross-tie walls in existence because 50, 60, 70 years ago, that was the norm. If you go around to some of the older Atlanta communities and you see apartment complexes, office buildings, they're still held up with cross ties, which makes great work for just going in and replacing them all. And a lot of times it'll be either block or 6-inch by 6-inch pressure treated timbers as we're using in this case. But even how poorly they are built and how quickly they rot and how the fact that they have zero drainage behind them, like there's nothing, I don't even know if they made plastic pipe back then. There's no drainage behind them. They still stand up. So when you add in all these extra measures, it does a wonderful job to keep this wall protected and keep that hydrostatic water pressure relieved. So right now, until we can get in with our large machine, we're gonna keep coming in with the small skid steer and getting done what we can get done. I mentioned this is our 3rd day on the project. I expect by end of day tomorrow, so this is day 4 on the project. I expect by the end of day tomorrow, day 5, that we will have the second wall built. By the end of day 6 on Saturday, we should have everything graded and possibly even completed. We may have a few cleanup operations to take care of on Monday when we come back out. Sorry, I'm trying to walk back up this steep hill, and I'm sure you all would love me, see me slip. I've done that more than once. Let me talk about site access. So they have this really nice set of stairs. We obviously can't come down here. So one of the things to consider when you're working on a project like this is how are you going to get into the backyard, your site access. Site access is a big deal. You've got to look at it on every single project. Here we had a natural area. We've got a buffer of about 10 feet before we hit the tree line, so this made for perfect site access. As part of the cleanup of the job, we're gonna wanna put this back together. So we're gonna wanna regrade this out as we walk our machine back out of the property for the very last time. And then the homeowner is gonna have the option to put sod or to put pine straw. In this case, temporarily, we're gonna just go ahead and put pine straw throughout the rest of the area. But this kind of gives you a bigger overview. Let me try to show you from up here. There you go. That gives you a little bit bigger overview of what we're dealing with and just how substantial this drop-off is. I mean, this is like a no-joke drop-off retaining wall. This isn't your run-of-the-mill decorative 3-foot high, no problem type job. It requires a ton of anchoring and we're the company to do it. So I hope you learned something from this timber wall video. They're one of my favorite types of videos to make, and I will get you pictures as soon as this wall is done, about 3 days from now. Thanks. Have a great day.